This is truly pathetic. Trump paid $20,000 to rent an auto plants factory so that he could pretend to be in support of unions by hiring random people to pretend to be union workers. Like, wow. He knows that union workers are not in support of him, so he had to do this to make it seem like he had some kind of support.
One of the Republican candidates decided that he would take a different approach than all the others, perhaps sensing that Joe Biden was sort of meeting the moment here in a way that Republicans and Fox News weren't. Recognizing that Biden was siding with these auto workers and the country was with him and with them on this, one of the Republican candidates did try to do something different. The day after Biden ended up on the picket line in Michigan, this one Republican candidate decided not to go to that Republican presidential candidate's debate. He skipped it. And instead, he himself went to Michigan to go try to do basically what Biden did, to go show up and be seen with the union auto workers in Michigan. Kind of. Whereupon he promptly stepped on a rake, trying to make it look like he was supporting these union auto workers who were out on strike, who the whole country was rallying in support of. He instead went to a non-union auto parts facility. And while his campaign tried to convince people to say that he was there speaking to striking auto workers, or at least he was speaking to auto workers, the problem was that real reporters actually went to the event. And they realized quickly that this was a facility that doesn't have anybody in a union. And then the reporters did what reporters do. They talked to the people who were physically there. And so this was the Detroit News the next day. Quote, one individual in the crowd who held a sign that said union members for Trump acknowledged to a Detroit News reporter that she was not a union member. Another person with a...
Wow. It's wild how these people are so willing to admit that they're lying about what they're doing. You would think that they would at least try to pretend that they're union workers when they're asked if they're union workers, especially if they're holding a sign saying, union workers for Trump.
sign that read auto workers for Trump, when asked for an interview, said that he wasn't an auto worker. Neither person provided their name.
That is hilarious. Again, a person pretending to be an auto worker who isn't an auto worker, like willingly admitting that they're not an auto worker and just lying when they're holding the sign saying auto workers for Trump. Is like, dude, like, do these people like break so easily that like the moment they're asked by the media like what they're doing that they just tell on themselves?
This was very embarrassing, right? He's trying to look like he was supporting the union, but he's at a non-union facility that he filled with people who were given signs and effectively told to pretend to be union workers or even to pretend to be auto workers when they were no such thing. He did a fake event. I mean, the whole thing was fake. And then it was in the Detroit press the next day that it was fake. This you skipped the debate for? It was so embarrassing at the time. And now, as of right now, there are receipts, literal receipts. The campaign finance filings that just came out for all the various campaigns. Reporter Jonathan Oosting at Bridge, Michigan dug in and found that on that day in September, the Trump campaign indeed paid a $20,000 rental fee to pay to rent that auto parts plant.
Wow, $20,000. He actually had $20,000 to rent out this plant. That's surprising that Trump usually doesn't pay people for their services and stuff, but like, it's truly pathetic of Trump to do this, to pretend that he has the support of union workers when he doesn't.
was not a union facility, so he could pretend it was full of union auto workers who supported him when it was actually just full of randos holding signs that said that's who they were, even though that's not who they were. It's just an amazing thing. I mean, you think of things that ended previous presidential campaigns, right? Howard Dean was too close to a microphone when he shouted with excitement after doing pretty well in the Iowa caucuses. Your campaign must end. You were too close to the microphone. Gerald Ford got lost in the middle of a sentence about Eastern Europe in a debate once. Poppy Bush said, "read my lips," before he said no new taxes, which was like uncharacteristically memorable phrasing from him. And so people actually remembered it, which turned out to be really bad for him when the no new taxes thing didn't really work out. I mean, campaigns have been laid low by some dumb and small stuff. But here's a candidate faking a union event with fake union members and fake auto workers who were given signs by the campaign to falsely identify themselves in the hopes that no one would check. And then they got caught, and it's like, what else you got?
Well, we've gotten to a point in politics where at least some people can do whatever they want and say whatever they want and act however they want and get away with it because they have a cult following that will believe that they're the good guys no matter what they do. I mean, Trump could murder people and his base would justify it.
Did he ever wear a tan suit?